Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Google Wallet live stream. Today I'm live from Cary, North Carolina, and it is an eventful day because yesterday we had like 4 inches of snow, 10 centimeters, and today it's snowing again. So it's a once every 5 years opportunity. I hope you're all doing well. And please tell me, where are you watching us from today? I can see here in the comments. Please say hello. I can see some people already live here with the chat. I can see say hi to OOTV, Akash, Michelle. Yeah, thank you and welcome for uh, to this live stream, and thank you so much for watching us live. And remember, we have some time for questions in the end. So if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. We'll be marking them and we'll answer them in the end of this live stream. I know everyone is super excited about the improvements we've been doing to the Google Wallet API, and I thought it was a great opportunity for us to be sharing some best practices for Google Wallet's integration. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And to be starting this discussion, of course, I'm going to share my screen and point you to the canonical source of information for everything Google Wallet related, which is, of course, developers.google.com/wallet. You go there, you have access to all the developer documentation, and I've been mentioning these in the past live streams. We have this new section in the developer site, which is events. So if you go here in the upper tab and click on events, you'll be able to see all the upcoming events, both in person and live. And today, here we have at the top of the screen, the upcoming events is Level Up Your Google Wallet Integration, Past Sharing Best Practices for Developers. Well, that's exactly the live stream that we have today. And if you want to stay up to date with the upcoming live streams that we have, please stay tuned because we're always scheduling new events, and I'm preparing some great content, some great interviews with partners. So stay tuned and keep watching us, please. I love when we have this amazing people watching us live, and I can see more people here in the chat. So Sonic Factory watching us from London, UK, Akash from India, Imran from Pakistan, Michelle from Poland, Dendem, Chopa from Arizona, Unblocked from LA, Del Luis Luzardo, hello. Yeah, hello, folks. I'm so happy to see all of you here in the chat, so I don't feel that lonely talking to this screen and this microphone. Okay, so we've talked about the upcoming events, and let me go here for the documentation now. Go to the top tab, documentation, and today we're going to be doing event tickets. Let's do some event tickets. And the best practices that I want to share with you today are listed here in the left side of your screen under advanced usage. So, of course, you can access all of these at your own pace, at your own time when you're reading through the documentation. But the first one that I'd like to share with you is, let me try to find here at links. It seems to be group multiple event tickets. No, not this one. Add links. That's interesting. I was going through the documentation right now, and let's see if we can find it under loyalty cards. Okay, advanced usage. All right, to Google Wallet. And the delete, add multiple pass types, which is another very good way. Well, forgive me for that. I'm very bad in remembering where is the stuff. I'm pretty sure it was here in advanced usage. Redeem makeup. Oh, this one. How could I miss it? Well, I don't know, but I just found it. So first, let's see. Make a button to save multiple passes. For example, suppose you have this scenario. You entered your shopping site and you just bought multiple tickets or multiple anything. And I just bought tickets for my entire family or for my entire party of friends. So, and we're all going to the same event together. It would be very cumbersome. It would be very awkward if I had like a party of 10 people and suddenly you're sharing like in the same screen 10 different add to Google Wallet buttons for your users to add each event ticket individually. So I would have to click on one, add a pass, click on the second one, add the pass, third one, add the pass. So not an optimal experience for your users. So what I'm going to show you now is that you can, in the same add to Google Wallet link, share multiple passes to be added by your users with one single tap or click. So that's what we're going to do, okay? And what I'm going to show is here in the developer documentation, but of course, I prefer to show you in code. So let's do some live coding. And here, let me check the chat again. Oh yeah, Dev Luis Luzardo is from Colombia. Hello. So we have people from multiple continents watching us from today. Okay. And let's see the code. Oh, I forgot to increase the font size here. So let's do that now. So here I have the code. And if you've seen me coding before, you've seen that usually I create an event ticket. I go to the pass builder. I copy the JSON definition for the event ticket class and the JSON definition for the event ticket object and all of that. But for this particular example, we're going to use pre-created event tickets. And that's when I start a big distinction between different ways for us to be creating passes, okay? With the Google Wallet API, you have two different ways, two different approaches for creating passes with the Google Wallet API. And I can tell you that one is always better than the other because depending on your particular use case, you might prefer one approach or the other one. First, we have what we call the pre-created passes strategy or approach. And of course, as the name implies, when you have the pre-created approach, you already created all the classes and objects that you need to issue to your users. You call the API beforehand, and you already have all the IDs ready to be used. So you already have all your classes IDs, you already have your object IDs, and you just need to mention those IDs when you're sharing your passes with your users. The second approach that we have when we're using the Google Wallet API is what we call the on-demand creation. When we have the on-demand creation, you don't pre-create anything. You have an on-demand creation because when your user clicks on your link, then they add their passes to their Google Wallet. That's when the classes and the objects ID will be actually created inside the Google Wallet API. Is that a better approach? As I said, it really depends. What I'm going to tell you today in this live stream is that I have some preferences because I've been doing enterprise software development for the past 25 years, and I can share some recommendations based on my experience. But of course, I'll let you decide to check which one is better for you, okay? And for this particular example, to group multiple passes in the same add to Google Wallet link, I'm using the pre-created approach, which means that I call the endpoints of the Google Wallet API beforehand. I already created some passes, and I already have the IDs of the objects that I want to share. And when we do that, creating the add to Google Wallet link is just a matter of creating the signed JWT for that. So these two lines, I'm creating the add to Google Wallet link, and I'm adding that to the add to Google Wallet button. And let's check the structure of the JWT that I'm sharing, okay? And this is kind of boring because it's always the same, but when you're creating a signed JWT, you have to create the claims here, ISS, AUD, the type, the IAT, the origins. So this is always the same, and you can check the documentation on how you can create that. And don't worry, I'm going to parse the JWT later so you can see that in JSON format instead of using your language of choice. I'm using Java because I'm a Java developer, but remember, we support 9 different, actually it's 10 different languages and frameworks with the Google Wallet API. We have client libraries for that. So probably your favorite client library is already available in the major public repositories that we have. And it's open source. It's available on GitHub if you want to check the source code as well. So here, and the magic happens when I create this particular part of the JWT. You see? When I want to share, usually when I'm sharing just one, I would say add just one ID here. In the payload of my JWT, I'm going to add event ticket objects. And I type the ID and I point just one ID because I usually am sharing just one pass. But when I want to group and share multiple passes together, what can I do? I can here in this particular map, I can add multiple IDs and multiple object IDs, which are the object IDs of the objects that are already pre-created beforehand. So I already have them saved in the API. I just want to share them. And once I run this particular code, let's do it now. You're going to see that in the map of the JWT, I have these IDs listed, and they're going to all be added together. Now let's run this code. Localhost 8080, I say group event tickets. The add to Google Wallet button is the same, but what happens here is that when I click in the button, I'm going to be pointing here, and you can see here in the screen, let's zoom in, 3 passes. On a regular pass, I wouldn't have this message because it's a single pass. But because I'm grouping multiple passes together, you can see here that I have 3 passes. And when I click here, I'll be able to add all of these 3 passes together inside my Google Wallet. Now let's take a look at the JWT definition that I shared with the user. You see that the button just pointed me to this particular link in the URL of my browser. And of course, it's a very long URL because it's an encoded JWT. And it's not like human readable. You can't tell that because it's base664 encoded. But if I go to this particular URL and I strip the first characters of it, everything before the pay.google.com/gp/v/save/, if I strip everything before that, and I just copy everything after the last slash until the end, okay, I'm going to just copy this part, which is base64 encoded. I can use this particular JWT information and go to a website or use another tool, whatever. I can go to JWT.io or JWT.io to be able to decode it and see what's actually in the JWT. So I go here to the left side of the screen. I'm going to replace the information that is available in this box. And as soon as I paste it, my JWT is decoded. So you can see here on the right side of the screen, the decoded part of my JWT. And the interesting thing is that, well, it contains exactly the information that we added in the code. So you can see the AUD, the audience that we just shared. And now we have the payload, event ticket objects. And you can see here the first ID, the second ID, and the third ID. Okay, you have the issuer here, the what else? The issued at the time, and the type of token, which is saved to wallet. So my JWT, in this particular case, you can see it was very small, very lean. I can't see here the digital signature part, but the actual information is very small. It's very tiny, okay? Because it only contains the IDs of event ticket objects. So one of the benefits of using a pre-created approach for issuing add to Google Wallet links to your user is that the URL is small. You can be certain that the user won't have issues trying to parse a URL that is too big. And of course, it's 2025. We don't have any more limitations, both in web servers nor browsers, about the length of the URL. But I'll have to tell you that some of our partners that are already integrated with the Google Wallet API, some of them, they use short links to be able to track who is using the links to the add to Google Wallet link buttons. Okay, and when they do that, some of these short link tools, they have issues with very long URLs. Okay, so just be aware. There's no limitation in modern web browsers and modern web servers, but I've seen some comments that some developers had issues with the short link tools if your URL is too big. So one of the benefits of using pre-created objects here is that you always have very short JWTs, and by consequence, you always have very short URLs. Okay, so that's something for us to have in mind. And if I go here, back to my page, add to Google Wallet, let's try to increase here. Yes, bigger. You'll be able to see that here in my screen. On the right side, I have my Android phone, and on the left side, I have my desktop browser. If I click here on the add button in my desktop browser, those free passes, those free event tickets will be added automatically to my mobile phone. So in a few seconds, I should be able to see here in my mobile phone. Yes, it just happened. And you can see here that I have a 3 in my mobile phone showing up. Oh, actually, I have a 4th now, because in one of the passes, I had an auto-linked pass, which added automatically a gift card to my event tickets. Okay, you see, I have multiple features working at the same time here in my demo. And if I click here in my mobile phone, you'll be able to see that I have 4, right? How cool is that? I have 3 event tickets. And I also have a gift card because that's the demo, that's the event ticket that I created for another live stream talking about auto-linked passes. Cool? So that's the first tip. First best practice is how you can share multiple passes at the same time using an Add to Google Wallet button. Let's go to the next best tip. Next best practice, which could be also a best tip. So I created this particular one. What can we do now? Well, pre-creation is easy. If you go to any of the previous live stream that I've shared, for you to be able to pre-create your classes and objects, you have to call the Google Wallet API. So what is calling the Google Wallet API? Actually is, in my particular case, using the client library to issue a REST request, put or a post request to the Google Wallet API. You don't need to use the client library. It just makes your life much easier and always up to date. But if you want to handcraft your REST request, you can do that as well. Okay? So pre-creating means I'm sending all my class and all my object information to the Google Wallet API beforehand, so the Google servers already know about this particular pass and they're ready to be used by the user. Okay, that's the approach I've been using. Another benefit of this approach, in addition to having very small JWTs, is as I mentioned before, as an enterprise developer, I always want to have control of what is happening to the user. And I always want to have control of solving issues as soon as possible. So when you use the pre-created version, you already created the event tickets and event objects beforehand. Everything is already in the API. The user just needs to consume, which means that if you had any issue with the class creation or the object creation, it would be detected in a log in your servers. You would see an exception in your servers. You would have an alarm. You as a developer would be able to see the logs and see, oh, I'm doing something wrong. So when you're pre-creating, before sharing with your user, you already detected the error. Okay, that's a benefit because your user wouldn't be able to see the error, or you would be immediately notified about the error. A problem when you use the on-demand approach is that you're not pre-creating anything and you're just sending to the user to be created on demand, is that you won't see any errors in your server. The user will be seeing the errors in their browser or in their Android phone. Okay, so the user would then, oh, it's not working. They would reach to customer support. They would log, yeah, I'm trying to add a pass and it's not working. Then people from the support team would need to reach out to the user to, oh, can you tell me more information? What is your account? What is the ticket that you're trying to add? And then somebody from your developer team will need to check that information and try to reproduce the bug. Okay, so the advantage of pre-creating the classes and objects is that you have the information beforehand, so you can detect the errors as earlier as possible. When you do it on demand, your user will detect the error. Okay, so that's one of the particular issues. Another benefit of the pre-creation approach is that if you're having issues, you can always go to your code, fix it, and you can ask the user to try it again. Okay, and it will be solved. If you created a JWT in the wrong way and you already shared the link with the user, there's no way that they can try it again and it will work because the information is wrong there. The solution to this particular problem when you're using the on-demand approach is you have to create another link and share this new link to the user. And you have to make sure that the user is using the new link. Okay? So that's some differences of these approaches. Right? So I've talked about the issues of both approaches. I already shown you how to use and create pre-created paths. So let's try to create now an on-demand one. With the on-demand, I have two different ways of doing that. You know that for us to be able to create a path, I need to create a class and an object. You can pre-create a class and create an object on demand, which is usually the case because usually for the class you already have the information, right? Or you can create both on demand. So you can create both the class and the object on demand. That's what I'm going to do first. So here I will just parse the JSON for the event ticket class, the event ticket object, as you can see here in the code. You can see that I'm not calling the Google Wallet API anytime. I'm just populating the object, which will be generating some JSON here. And I'm creating the add to Google Wallet link with the JWT that I just created, okay? And here the claims of the JWT are the same as always. And what is different here? Here, when in the payloads, I'm going to add two different sections, two different types of payloads. I'm going to add event ticket classes, and I'm going to creating event ticket objects. And here, I don't have a map with an ID and later the corresponding ID. Here, I have a list of the classes and objects that I want to add. You can see here that I don't have an ID. I'm going to switch here to the other code. You can see here that when I'm using pre-created ones, I'm mentioning the ID and the object ID that I want to add. When I'm using on demand, I don't have an ID, right? I have to pass the full definition of the class and the full definition of the object inside my JWT. And let's run the code so we can parse it later so you can see what I'm talking about. So let's go back here to my code, localhost 8080, and on-demand event ticket on demand. Actually, let me copy the URL here because I just forgot. On-demand event ticket class and object. So as I type this URL, I just shared the button. So if I click here, if you're able to scroll, you'll be able to you see that it's a very long URL. And let's copy just the jot part and paste here in jot.io. Okay, go on the left side of the screen. I'm just going to replace it. Let's make it full screen for you so you can see better. So it's a very long jot. And what do I have here in the payload? So the decoded payload, you can see in the right side of the screen. I have event ticket classes, and then I have the full definition of the class. It's quite long, isn't it? Yeah. Here. It doesn't even fit in my entire screen. So if I just go through all, I have to scroll a lot. This is the entire event ticket class definition in the jot. That's why the jot is very long, because the entire definition is here. In the event ticket objects, I have here this one. This is the entire event ticket object definition available in the jot. And you can see the class ID here. You can see the object ID here available in the jot. And guess what? This class and these objects, they don't exist yet in the Google Wallet API. And if I go here, they don't exist because the user didn't click the add button. But as soon as I click the add button, they will be added to the Google Wallet API. Okay, so let's try to do it. So I'm going to do here, add, and I just did that. In a few seconds, this event ticket will be available in my mobile phone. Okay, just waiting for it to show up. Yes, it's there. You can see that it's available. Now I have 5 here available in my mobile phone. Okay. So this is another way for me to do, to share the information. I'm creating both the class and the object at the same time on demand. And the third approach that we have for this is for us to create just the object on demand. I already created the class. I already pre-created the class, so it's already available. And here, when I'm creating the jot, I don't need to mention the event ticket classes. I just need to mention the event ticket object, and I share it in the payload. Right? That's the only thing that I'm making different. I already have a class, and I'm only creating the object on demand. Let's go here to the code. Event ticket on demand event ticket object. I share. I'm going to click the button. Same pass. I'm going to get the jot here. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to parse it in this website. I parse, and you can see that I don't, here in the parse jot, I don't have any mention of event ticket classes. I just have event ticket objects with their full definition. Okay. Let's see if it works. We're going to add here, and remember, this object doesn't exist yet. Add it, and now it's going to be available in my mobile phone. Cool. So all of them work. And what is another consideration that we need to have? First one is that, well, you have to pre-create. You detect the errors in your own API, in your own server. You create on demand. The user will see the errors. You won't even notice that the error is happening. Okay. Second consideration, the JWT, the URL size. If you have pre-created your classes and objects, your JWT will be very small. If you're creating on demand, your JWT will be very long. And having said that, we have partners that do it both ways. Some people could pre-create, some people generate on demand. They're both working. Once the machine is working, well, you usually don't have issues. But another best practice that I want to share is that independently of the approach that you're using, what I usually recommend to people that ask me is that when you create the Add to Google Wallet link, what I recommend people is that don't share the link, the Add to Google Wallet, the actual Add to Google Wallet link yet. Okay? What I recommend people to do that is that when in your application, when you share the Add to Google Wallet link to your user, actually this Add to Google Wallet button is pointing to a link in your server, right? With a particular token. And when the user clicks on that, you redirect the user to your server, you generate the JWT on demand using either the pre-create approach or on the on-demand approach, and then you redirect the user to this Add to Google Wallet link. And why is that? Well, we have some benefits in this approach. First, you know when the user clicked in the button. You can track it. Okay? You know when it's happening. You can get some analytics on top of that. If an error happens, you can get it right now because, well, there's a very short time frame between the user action and you processing information. You can more easily understand what's happening, which is very different from creating something like 1 month ago and the user clicking it 1 month later. So your feedback loop is much better. Another benefit of this approach is that you're generating the JWT right now. So for you to be able to sign the JWT, you need a private key. For digital signature, you need a private key. And these keys, they do expire. So maybe you generated the link 1 month ago, but your digital signature, your private key, expired yesterday. And when the user tries to click your link, it won't work because your key expired and they're going to have an error. On the other hand, if you're doing key management right, if the user clicks on your link, is directed to the server, and you're creating the link on demand with the current key, your team will make sure that your key is never expired. So that's another benefit of pointing the Add to Google Wallet button to your server, and then your serving creating on demand, and then redirecting to the actual Add to Google Wallet link. Okay, that's another consideration that you can do. Okay, so these are the best practices that I had to share with you today. I hope you enjoy this content, and remember, we're always creating new content based on your feedback. And if you have any questions, doubts, suggestions, well, the best way for you to interact with us is through here in the live stream chat. We're always taking a look at the messages that you're leaving to us. You can also interact with us in our Twitter/X channel. So send some messages, tag us, and we'll be able to see what you're talking about. And now that I've presented all the content, let's see what we have for Q&A. Here I have Akash saying how can we have multiple currencies around the globe? Well, Google Wallet, we don't store any currencies. So you can use Google Wallet to store your payment methods, which can be credit cards, debit cards, and sometimes you can use some even like in-store value from private label cards. But Google Wallet by itself, we don't store any kind of currency. Okay. And Unblocked Brands is asking, when can we expect to get location-based notifications for wallet passes? We're very interested in building this out for our customers, especially those in events and brick and mortar. That's a very good question. And actually, that's one we get a lot because a lot of people are interested in location-based notifications. And all I can tell you is that we are aware of this future request. We have some work in the background happening, and all I can tell for you now is that I'm not authorized to tell or mention any specific dates for upcoming features. But I'm super excited to tell you that, stay tuned because we're always releasing new features for the Google Wallet API and Google I/O, the main event for Google, where like Google products like Google Wallet make the major announcements, is going to be happening in May 2020, May 2021st. And stay tuned. Maybe we have some great announcements for you, and maybe they're going to be announced very soon. That's all I can comment for now. And like I say, Sam here is asking, I want to make for myself a budget management app that helps me manage my Google Pay balance, but I don't find anything in the Google Pay API that can help me. What should I do? Sam, unfortunately, I work with the Google Wallet product, which is different from Google Pay. And Google Wallet is where you store your everyday essentials like credit card, debit cards, event tickets, loyalty cards, boarding passes, and other stuff. And Google Pay deals with the payments part. So you can integrate with some payment processors and make it much easier for your users to pay for something in your website or in your point of sale. I can't comment on Pay. I'm not sure if it's possible for you to use that with the Google Wallet, with the Google Pay API. And one of the reasons for me to say that is because I'm not the right person. I don't know much about the Google Pay API, but that would be a perfect question for you to ask the Google Pay team. Sometimes they do live streams as well. Stay tuned, or you can ask in the at Google Pay Devs Twitter/X channel too, and maybe some of them might be able. Some people from the Google Pay team will be able to answer you. Okay, and let's see if I have any more questions, comments. I don't think so. And well, then that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching this live stream. I hope you enjoyed watching some best practices for Google Wallet integration. I hope you'll be able to apply some of those practices. I hope you'll be able to confirm that they are indeed best practices. And if it doesn't work for you, please tell me. I'd love your feedback. I want to always be improving the way that developers use and integrate with the Google Wallet API. So stay tuned. We'll be very soon with another Google Wallets live stream. Always remember, go to developers.google.com/wallet/events to check what we're planning for you. And keep safe. Hope to see you soon. Bye.